Basically, we'll be looking at the issue of succession. Um, the idea of a company, if I may state it that way, is that it's supposed to have perpetual succession. So if the proprietor or the person who is a shareholder sets up a business and that person dies, the thinking is that that business should not die with the death of the owner. But in our part of the world, we do not see that happening a lot. Why? Because, as is often said, I think it's an overflogged horse, but we fail to plan for people to succeed us. There's not really a conscious effort to, as it were, pass on the baton to people who would carry on the ideas of the firm and ensure that it's able to succeed for generations. And that has been the bane of Ghanaian businesses. So the owners die, the business die. Even when it's a flourishing business, sometimes the children fight over who should, as it were, run the business. It runs amok and then it goes off. So it's important that corporate entities, even sole proprietorships, where you have just one person running the show, you put in place, plans, obviously, to ensure that if you are not there, the business can thrive. And that is what we need to do as a people. How to, as it were, remove yourself from the business and see that the business is distinct from me and not a piggy bag where I can put in my hands and then pick the money and spend as I will. I think that is important, and we need to come to that understanding as a people in order to ensure that we can have second, third, fourth, and fifth generation of businesses that are able to outlive their owners and their proprietors. I think we have very good laws. If you pick the Companies Act, which has been revamped, excellent law in most respects. It creates the center of powers, as it were, between, as we will call it, the shareholders on one side, who are the owners, the directors on one side, who are supposed to be the minds managing the business. That, if you look at the corporate governance architecture under the Companies Act, it appears to be one of the best. But the problem has always been that we do not, as it were, follow the dictates of the law when it comes to succession. Now, having the law is one thing. If a person dies today, the shares are part of his estate, okay, that anybody can inherit. Now, under our company law structure, I'll pick companies just for a company limited by shares, for example. If a person dies today, the shares can be inherited by the person's estate, whoever the person wills it to. Now, when that person becomes a shareholder, depending on the power the person has and depending on the shareholders' agreement, the person can, as it were, appoint a number of directors, can remove the directors, can literally appoint himself as a director because the law doesn't prevent him from doing that, and run the show as the person pleases. So you see that the laws are there, but we do not have a conscious effort to ensure that we have good plans that are able to, as it were, ensure that the businesses thrive. So unless we have those things in motion, that, okay, I am not there, in the next 5 years, for example, I may step down as CEO, another person must take over. That simply means from day one, I have to be preparing somebody to take over. Okay, if you have that rotational business coming on and those plans are in place, the businesses will succeed. But in Ghana, most often than not, it's at the will of the person who owns the business. And when I feel like it, I will step down. There's no clear plan to train people, as it were, to step into your shoes. So the person dies today, there's chaos, you wait till the person's shares are inherited, the new owners come on board and decide to run the show as they will. So it all boils down to the issue of planning. We do not have plans that, one, are strategic to move the businesses along, two, are good enough to ensure that there's a clear path to the top, that this person is able to rise after that, and that is what we fail to do as a people, and that's why we find ourselves where we are. Now in Ghana, our biggest problem has been that the women who are in SMEs, and a majority of them are either semi-literate or people who don't have a lot of training when it comes to education. Now these are the real drivers of the economy. If you go to the market centers, I always tell people, and you see the women plying their trade, they are those who move the economy about. It's not about the financial institutions. That is the real economy. But most often than not, they do not have structures in place. A person who may have about 4 stores in, say, Cantamanto, or may have 4 stores in Makola, and be running big time business, may not even have an accountant. So the person may not have good bookkeeping records, may not be able to keep proper inventory. There is no plan as to who, as it were, takes the final decisions except the woman. And so we have not gotten to the point where entrepreneurs are able to understand that there's a role for an entrepreneur and there's a role for a manager. That I need a management team to take my business to the next level. And I say this not just to not in any derogatory sense, but as I said, if you go to our trading centers, it's populated by women. They are the movers and the shakers of that particular economy, that sector of our economy. So we need to conscientize entrepreneurs that you may have the ideas, you may have the capital. It is not enough to ensure the business will succeed and even go beyond your, lifespan. You must put in place the structures. You must have a solid management team. You must have a succession plan. You must have managers, accountants, human resource directors, financial experts. You may even have to have a lawyer on call who is able to do the agreements for you and all that. But the problem I always see is that Ghanaians don't like paying for professional services. And so that is our bane. We don't pay for professional services. When a lawyer is to charge you 1,000 Ghana cedis, say, oh, lawyer, what have you done and you're charging me 1,000 Ghana cedis? Because I didn't give you a tin of milk, I didn't give you a bag of gari or a bag of rice. You don't see the value of that. And that is why our businesses do not grow beyond the lifespan of the entrepreneurs. That for me is one thing. Apart from being entrepreneurs, you must have in place the structures, have management teams to run the firms. And it's part of the awareness we need to create that it's not just good to be an entrepreneur. You must have a plan as to how the business is managed from day one and how succession is done when you are not there. Talk about gifts. Gifts in tax sense are categorized into 3 sense. If I'm an employee and I do something for a person and the person appreciates me by giving me a gift, the law says that that is a gift received from my employment. So I should add that the value of the gift to my employment income and pay tax on it. If I'm a business and I'm doing business and I receive a gift by way of that business, they say it's a gift you receive in the course of the business. Add that to your business income and pay tax. Any other gift I receive, the law says it's a gift received from investment. So I should pay tax on it. Now I remember one time somebody asked me a question. So if a husband is to give a gift to the wife, what happens? I said, well, unfortunately, Ghana has entered into a new regime where we don't have what we call exempt gifts. In the past, under the old law at 592, which phased off at the end of 2015, when a husband gives a gift to a wife or gives it to the son, you give a gift to your parents, to your close family, your uncles, your aunties, they were not deemed to be taxable gifts. So they were exempt from tax. Now, there's nothing like that. So when you give out a gift, you may have tax implications. And I think as we roll about in the discussion, we'll talk a little bit more about how gifts are taxed in Ghana and how you can, as it were, plan to ensure that even if you are giving a gift, you do not end up being saddled with a tax burden. So I think these thoughts have been burdened around. One, death is certain. And also, we do not know when we'll die. We do not know when we'll be incapacitated by anything. So planning your estate is critical. We must take steps to plan our estate, either by having trust set up, by using wills, by giving the gifts as we are alive, and even by appointing powers of attorneys in case we become incapacitated. I think lawyers are even culprits the more. Most lawyers die without wills, even though we are taught about wills and all that. And so it's because of a myth, The idea is that when you decide to write your will, you are acknowledging that you are about to die or something bad is about to happen to you or something. It's a funny idea, but we must move beyond that myth and be able to embrace that we need to plan. If we do not plan, things will happen to us, and as I said, PNDC law 111 will distribute it in a way you don't like, because that one doesn't contemplate your family, your friends, people who may have done good things for you that you may want to give them something as appreciation. PNDC law 111 doesn't recognize that. So if you want people to appreciate people by way of transferring assets to them, then you must plan by, as it were, either transferring it into Bibles or having a will by which you are able to do or appreciate them in that manner. So those are my thoughts on why we need to do estate planning.